Stakes are the reason that audiences become invested in your story. Stakes are the things that make an audience worry or wonder, makes them curious, makes them root for you, makes them hope for your demise. Stakes are essential to a story. They are the things that make people want to hear the end of the story. They're the things that drive people to the end of the story. There are several types of stakes that you can deploy in a story, and all can be very powerful. The most important stake of all is what I call the elephant. I call it the elephant because it's enormous. It's enormously important to a story. The elephant is essentially the initial signpost to the audience that says, this is what my story is about, at least for now. In a movie, we don't really need an elephant because what we have today is movie trailers. When we go into a movie, we kind of know what we're going to see. If we're going into a Mission Impossible movie, we know what the stakes are. The world is in danger and Tom Cruise must save the day. When we walk into a romantic comedy, we know what the stakes are, what the elephant is. It is, two people are not in love. Will they be in love by the end of the movie? Those are the stakes. But when we're speaking, telling a story, delivering a sales pitch, speaking at a conference, delivering a keynote, nobody knows really what we're going to say as we open our mouths. We need to give them a reason right away to be invested in that story with what I call an elephant. Standing in the playground behind my school beside this enormous pile of leaves, and this tiny little hand comes out of the leaves with a silver metallic object in it. And the boy attached to the hand, he says, "Look, Mr. Dix, a spoon." And it's a spoon. It's an ordinary kitchen spoon, probably fell out of a lunchbox earlier that day or 10 years ago. But I say, no, Jamie, that's the spoon of power. And now that I've declared it to be the spoon of power, I must have it because that is who I am. And Jamie knows this. I can see it on the look in his face. And he knows that I know it. And I know that he knows that I know it. And all of this is true because he's running before he says anything else. And the 74 kids that I'm supposed to be monitoring closely are lost to me. And the only thing I focus on is a little redheaded boy with a spoon that I must now have. And we run across the field and we climb up the slide and through the tubes. And 17 minutes later, the bell rings. And that little boy still has the spoon. And I can't believe it. The spoon of power. It's a very similar elephant at the beginning. A spoon has made an appearance in a little boy's hand, and Matt must now have that spoon. Will he get the spoon? That is the elephant that I present at the beginning of the story. It's actually the elephant or the stake that carries us through much of the story until he eventually puts it on a chain around his neck, and then the elephant changes. It's 1991 and I'm 20 years old and I'm driving home from the very first booty call of my entire life, and I am excited because I don't know that this is going to also be the very last booty call of my entire life. And then it's in that moment of excitement that the right front tire of my 1976 Chevy Malibu blows out. But it doesn't deflate, it disintegrates. It throws rubber on the road in a way that I didn't think was possible. And it takes everything I can to get the car over to the shoulder and to a stop. And it's 1991. I don't have a cell phone, so I do the only thing I can. I start hiking up the road to look for help. 7 hours later, after giving all of my money to a half-naked mountain man named Winston, I have a bald tire on my car and I'm heading home when I look at the instrument panel and I see that I have no gas. And all of the money that I have is in Winston's hand. And it's 1991. I don't have a credit card. I don't have an ATM card. I don't even have a checking account. And so I take the next exit and I roll my car into a Getty station. And as I park the car, I'm angry and I'm sad. I'm 20 years old. I'm a McDonald's manager. I make $7.25 an hour, and I'm the richest person I know. My mother is living on welfare with my sister. My father's left 10 years ago, and the only friend that I have who even has a credit card or a car that can make this 100-mile trip to New Hampshire is off on some college weekend, and I can't get in touch with him. And this was not the plan for my life. I was not supposed to be this alone. And so I go into the Getty station to beg for gas. $8 worth of gas is all I need because it's 1991 and gas is 85 cents a gallon. And the kid behind the counter will not give it to me. He doesn't want to lose his job, and I offer everything, and he says no. So I go back to my car. My plan is to wait for the next shift change. Maybe someone more sympathetic will take over. But as I climb into my car, I see my McDonald's uniform crumpled in the back, and I have an idea. The initial elephant, the question, the curiosity, the reason you want to be driven home to the end of the story is Matt has a flat tire, and he has no money. How will he get home? That is the stake. That is the elephant at the beginning of the story that will grab your attention and cause you to wonder, how will this problem be solved? If you're a problem solver, the kind of person that likes to puzzle things out, you might have actually started to think about solutions for me, solutions on my behalf, something that happened 30 years ago you're worried about now and wondering how I was going to get out of it. The goal of an elephant is to give an audience a reason to be immediately invested in the story. How will Matt get out of New Hampshire? An hour later, I'm in a residential neighborhood about a mile from the Getty station. I'm on the porch of a red brick house, and I'm knocking on the door. I'm wearing my McDonald's uniform, the blue shirt, the blue pants, the blue tie. The door opens, and there's a man standing in front of me, and I know at that moment that this is a bad idea. But it's 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm on his porch in a McDonald's uniform, and the only way to get off is to go forward. So I say to him, "My name is Matt. I'm collecting money for the Ronald McDonald Children's Charities. Can you please make a donation?" And this man stares at me like Stonehenge. He does not move. He's 50, but he might as well be 500. He has all of the wisdom and knowledge of the world wrapped into one man, and I know he knows I'm lying. And the next words that come out of my mouth, I don't expect. I say, "My mom died of cancer when I was young. And my sister has cancer now, and I'm just trying to do what I can to help." And he looks at me and points and says, "You stay right there." And he goes back into the house and closes the door. And I know that he's calling the police. And I'm going to get arrested for stealing money from McDonald's, which ironically 2 years later will actually happen. But not on this day. Because he comes back to the door and he has $20 in his hand, which is like $20,000 to me on this day. And he presses it into my palm, and I say, "No, that's too much." And he says to me, "My wife died of cancer 5 years ago." And I think this is a really bad idea I had. And before I know it, I am sitting on the porch with this man, and he asks me about my mother died of, and I say breast cancer because it's the first one that pops to my mind. And he says, "What does your sister have?" And I say leukemia, which I don't actually know is a cancer, but I know kids get it. And he tells me that his wife, Lisa, died of lung cancer, and that his kids live on the West Coast. And he tells me how she struggled for 2 years and how he wanted to tell her it was okay to go, but he couldn't, and how badly he felt that he watched her struggle for so long. And I sat on that porch and I listened to him, and I prayed he wouldn't ask me anything, and I just wanted to get off. And so finally we were hugging, and I was walking down the walk with $20 in my hand, and it felt like poison. I got to my car and I sat in there, and I remembered how lonely I felt. And then I felt so stupid and small, because I knew at that moment I didn't understand real loneliness. I was a 20-year-old kid with friends, and I was stuck in New Hampshire. But I had walked away from a man who was in a tiny house with a wife that was gone and the kids that were gone, and he had a loneliness in him that I would never understand. And so I put the gas in my car and I drove home. But he has always been with me. I have never left that man on that porch that day. And I'm hopeful that I'll never be as lonely as he was that day. Thank you. I say that elephants can change their color, meaning the primary stake of a story, the primary reason we're invested in a character, that can change over time, as it did in the story you just heard. The initial elephant is, will Matt find a way to get out of New Hampshire with no gas and no money? Eventually, that elephant changes colors. When I end up on the porch in front of a blue door with a man who's talking to me about the death of his wife, it's no longer a concern how I'm going to get out of New Hampshire. That stake is now gone. There's a new stake. How is Matt going to deal with this situation? But there has to be that elephant in a story all the time. There has to be a reason that the audience is invested
in what is happening to the character, the product, the company, the CEO, whoever is speaking, there has to be an elephant. When Steve Jobs takes the stage and says,
"This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years.
I have been waiting 2.5 years to tell you this. That's the elephant. It is, I have news that's going to blow you away. I have been waiting a long time to share this with you. That is the elephant. We must open our stories with an elephant. The other stakes I'm going to discuss, they're all optional, but this one is essential. We have to have something to invest our audience in, to make them feel like they are with us and that they want to get to the end to find out how things are going to turn out. We open with an elephant, the first and most important stake in every story we tell.